Jorge, this is it. It's all over but the crying as far as I'm concerned. I just want to say, hey dolls, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 15, Episode 14, the top 4. And whether these were the top 4 you were cheering for or not, this is what we're getting. In my Meet the Queens video, I predicted Aura Mayari, Lucy LaDuca, Robin Fierce, and Malaysia Baby Doll Fox to make it to the top 4. In fact, I picked Malaysia Baby Doll Fox for the win. But then I also picked Lux Noir to be an early elimination and Selena Estides to either go home first or win it all. So what do I know? But before we get too far into it, well, I need to thank this week's Tipper-Doos, Patty MLS, Ocean NYC, Mr. Segman, and Darren Fancy, all of whom used the YouTube thanks button, which you'll notice is just below this screen right here, and Jordan Francis O'Dwyer, who went old school with PayPal, and Brian Stife, who also used PayPal via the link in my link tree on Instagram. Thanks, dolls. You're all too kind and oh so generous. Seriously. I also want to welcome back to the Fingerdoo family on Patreon at the Queen tier, Sunshine. We missed you, Sunshine, and I hope all's going well for you at school. If you'd like to leave a tip or do, join the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, or pick up some Wilma merch from my Redbubble store, the links are all down below in the description box. Oh, speaking of my Redbubble store, the great and talented Lara D'Souza is raising money for the Rainbow Railroad with this fabulous design called David of Finland. Lar created it in response to the public school principal in Florida who was forced to resign for showing his students an image of Michelangelo's statue of David, saying that he was exposing the students to porn. I mean, he wasn't huddled in a corner flashing a grubby picture at random students is all I'm saying. It was part of the curriculum and clearly set some parents off. Anyway, you can get this gorgeous image on t-shirts, mugs, coasters, whatever you want from my Redbubble store, and 100% of the profits will be donated to Rainbow Railroad forever. Seriously, they're a fantastic LGBTQA charity. I'm going to put a link to them down below, as well as the link to my Redbubble store. Now, Jorge, drink me! Oh! So you've just stopped trying? No fancy glass? No? A sophisticated lady. Coke Zero. Oh, I've lost a nail. Oh, I've lost 2. This is going to be a terrible show, Jorge. Coke Zero and some vodka. Yummy. Okay, let's get to it. So, as the queens bid Lucy a fond farewell, Lux implied that Lucy played a dirty game. Why? For using strategy to throw Lux off her game? If Lucy's played a dirty game, then Lux and Mistress are due for a flea dip. Oh. Speaking of Lux, she was obviously channeling Valentina with that "it doesn't work with my fantasy" BS. Personally, I would have channeled a winner. I'm just saying. Regardless, I think it's safe to say that every queen who's ever walked through those workroom doors is courting a fantasy that sees them walking away with that crown. The trick is to make that fantasy a reality, clearly. Of course, the queens congratulated Anitra on her 3rd win and themselves for surviving this long, but the pressure was still on. Point in fact, Sasha was focused, galvanized, and coming for that crown. So don't be caught in her way is all I'm saying. She'll gotcha. The next day, the top 4 threw down at Charlie's Angels moment, even though there were only 3 angels. But Rue's video message interrupted them before they could think of anything else to do. Something that was sobering in Rue's message was that one of them would be going home. Personally, I was looking forward to this. There hasn't been a top 3 for 7 seasons, and seeing as this season was double Shantae and Sashay free, I found the idea of 1 or more queens going home refreshing. The queens had a different reaction. Like the one your skin gets when you wear polyester on a hot day. Then there was Rue with the final challenge. The queens had to prove their worth by collaborating on Rue's song Blame It on the Edit. I found it funny to hear Mistress call this a shady song for all the queens who've blamed their negative representation on the editing of the show. Mistress has been one of the biggest perpetrators of that this season. Did anyone see her at Roscoe's viewing party on YouTube? From the way she talked, you'd think she was an innocent flower. Or like a Venus flytrap. In keeping with all the final challenges on RuPaul's Drag Race, the queens would be writing and recording their own verses to the song, learning choreo for the video, and taking part in Rue and Michelle's classic Tic Tac Lunch. Once again, Rue told the queens that only 3 of them would be moving on, which started to worry me. This is the second time it's been said in less than 10 minutes. Makes me think that they won't be kicking anyone to the curb. What elimination teasers, seriously. Right away, the queens got into the song and writing their lyrics. Sasha was confident where her writing was concerned, as was Luxx, whose hobby is apparently writing bitch tracks. I don't see that. Either way, she was so sure about the verse she wrote that she went for a nap on the sofa. Isn't it usually the guilty who can sleep under pressure? Meanwhile, Sasha was first up for the Tic Tac lunch. She admitted that she struggled a bit in the competition, feeling like the other queens were going to come for her after her second win. A carryover from her childhood trauma of having a mother who didn't love her. I can relate. I was also sorry to hear that her father took his own life at 80 and left all their generational land to Sasha. Needless to say, this was an emotional lunch. Next up was Anitra. She talked about how growing up Mormon is one of the main reasons why she's so different out of drag. They also talked about her lip sync with Marsha Cubed and how phenomenal Michelle thought it was. Clearly, this was a big point that the judges were taking into consideration where that crown was concerned. Speaking of the crown, Anitra said that winning Drag Race would make all the trials and tribs she's been through worth it. Lord knows I hate a worthless trial or trib for that matter. MIB was next, and the first thing they talked about was how outspoken she was, which is polite talk for shady. Mistress said she wasn't like that as a child and hated the self-doubt and replaying confrontations in her mind, so when she became an adult, she stopped holding back how she felt in those situations. I thought it was odd that Mistress took this time to throw Lucy under the bus for not doing that and coming off as two-faced behind the scenes. Not that I thought Lucy was up for miscongeniality, but that revelation certainly didn't help. Mistress also talked about being let down by her family and that she wanted this experience to make her drag family proud as well as herself. Seriously. Last was Luxx. Of course, Rue loved this denim moment, just like she and Michelle loved all Luxx's outfits on and off the runway. Rue thought it was smart of Luxx to plan out her whole wardrobe from runway to workroom. I love learning that Luxx went to the Cicely Tyson School for the Performing Arts in New Jersey. Like Rue, I had no idea there was a school named after her. And if you don't know who Cicely Tyson is, shame on you. Look her up. Go ahead, I'll wait. Luxx said she gets her self-confidence from her parents, who taught her to rely on herself and to be proud of her own accomplishments, because there's always going to be people telling her she shouldn't be. I could have used parents like that. Seriously. And then it was on to filming the video. Can I just say, I hate when we don't get to see the queens record their verses. It's actually been a while since we've seen that process. I wonder why. It's not like they have to make time for some crappy TV show no one wanted to watch. Miguel Zarate was on hand to teach the queens their choreography and to help Michelle direct the whole shebang. It was clear off the top that Mistress was nervous, but this time she didn't get up in Miguel's business about it, probably because Michelle was there. Although she did blame her costume for restricting her movements. Sasha didn't buy it. Neither did I. More importantly, neither did Miguel, who read Mistress for not performing enough. Ooh. Speaking of Sasha, she was serving some serious Pamela Anderson and barbed wire vibes. Well done, seriously. And then, without a moment to pee or wet their whistles, they moved right into filming the video. Well, if Mistress didn't look worried before, she certainly did now. And she wasn't alone. Even Anitra had a few problems remembering the choreo, if I'm honest. Of course, having a reputation for being a dancing queen didn't help. Neither did being next to Luxx, who was making the whole process look so easy. Seriously. No wonder she took a nap. Sasha and MIB were up next, and it was deja vu all over again. Sasha killed it, which only highlighted Mistress's mistakes and her difficulty keeping up with Sasha. Seriously, look how fantastic she looks. Lord knows I'd have trouble remembering anything with that standing next to me, seriously. And can we take a moment to admire those backup dancers? Wait, I'm not done. The next day, as the queens got ready for their last runway, they all talked about how well they did filming that video. Well, Luxx did at any rate. Mistress spent a lot of time convincing herself that she did as well, but it was clear that the shoo-ins for top three were Luxx and Sasha. If there had to be a bottom two, it was most likely to be Anitra and Mistress. How well they performed was all going to come down to the edit. See what I did there? And then it was time for the runway. Ru looked fantastic as long as you didn't stare too long at the likeness of her nude panel down her right side, which is a coincidence because the likeness of her nude panel was the name of my Fringe play. Michelle looked glamorous in a dominatrix kind of way, and Ross was looking like he just stepped out of Guillermo del Toro's Book of Life. Just me. Category is drag excellence. Not only did I love Anitra's runway, I love that she made it herself. And although I'm not a huge fan of those sculpted wigs, I thought this one was stunning. Fingerdoo for Anitra, seriously. Luxx looked good too, but after some of the looks she'd worn down that runway, this one was, well, dare I say it, generic. Don't get me wrong, I still gave her a Fingerdoo. Just wasn't special, that's all. Sasha looked stunning. She was serving us galactic Hawaiian realness. The headpiece was the cherry on top of her sparkly sundae, so I totally gave her a Fingerdoo, seriously. Mistress's sequin beaded fringed leopard gown was beautiful, but like Luxx, I thought she'd worn better in the season. Still, it was nice to see her sport an updo, so I totally gave her a Fingerdoo as well. Just that. And then it was time for the Blame It on the Edit video. I thought everyone did a great job. I love that they all had a second look for their solo verses, but the star of that show had to be Sasha. That intergalactic beauty look was stunning. No offense to the rest of the queens, but I couldn't tell you how they did after seeing that look from Sasha. Seriously, there were other people in the video? And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Of course, everyone loved Anitra and the continuation of her Flash Gordon era. Not only did everyone love Luxx's runway this week, but that was true for the whole season. It was also clear that her performance in the video was a standout for the judges as well. How could it not be? She was the only one who sang in her verse. I will call out her lace front, only because it surprised me that it showed at all. Come on, Luxx, you're better than that. Sasha was the other queen who not only stood out in the video, but did so consistently throughout this season as well. She actually got teary-eyed from all the compliments the judges gave her. I know how she feels. Lastly, MIB got showered with love too. Although she struggled with her choreo in the video, she sold the hell out of it in all her close-ups. There was also the obligatory what would you tell your 5-year-old self moment that is always the same. Tears, affirmations, warnings, and love. It's a rich tapestry is all I'm saying. Back in the Untucked Lounge, Mistress was feeling it. So much so that she had to take off that 60 pounds of beaded loveliness. Of course, she was worried because she knew she stumbled through the choreo, and at this stage of the game, there are no more excuses. Luxx must have been feeling it too because she couldn't get into her House of Love beverage fast enough, which is probably why she used her teeth to open it. Hey, I've done that. For the most part, this episode of Untucked was just filler. There were no fights, there were no accusations, there were no tears, happy or otherwise. All 4 queens were humble and complimentive at the same time. Clearly, they were exhausted, but not too exhausted to come up with a name for themselves. Luxx came up with SLAM, Sasha, Luxx, Anitra, and Mistress. Personally, I missed the return of the other cast members because then there would have been something to watch. I guess production is saving all that for the reunion episode next week. Back on the main stage after much deliberating, Sasha Colby was named the winner of the last challenge of season 15. That's 4 wins for Sasha. Crown the queen already, I'm serious. Luxx Noir London was safe, like there was ever any doubt, which left Mistress and Anitra in the bottom, and neither of them seemed happy about it. They had to lip sync to When Love Takes Over by David Guetta and Kelly Rowlands. I just love that song. I felt badly for Mistress because her beaded dress obviously restricted her movements. Not to be outdone, Anitra stepped out of her gown to throw it down the only way she knew how, by walking that duck all over the stage, much to MIB's chagrin. Seriously. But when the music died, for the first time of the season, it was a double Shantae. As happy as I was for both of them, I hate this. If they're going to keep all 4 queens, why bother with this episode at all? Why not just fast forward to the finale? Seriously. What do you think? Was there a clear winner in that lip sync? Personally, I would have given it to Anitra because she planned ahead enough to throw it down unrestricted. Am I sorry there are 4 queens going to the finale? No, but it frustrates me. That said, we have 2 weeks to wait to see who'll win the whole shebang. Fingers crossed it's not another tie is all I'm saying. Till then, we have a reunion to sit through next week. What about you? Are you okay with a top 4 for the finale? Should they just get over themselves and make a top 4 every season official? Or would you like to see them trim the fat a bit more? Speaking of the finale, who would you like to see win it all? How about Miss Congeniality? Have you got a favorite there? I don't know how congenial she was, but I'd like to see that sash go to his titties. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and check out the links in the description box for ways you can support the Fingerdoo review. Until next week, miss me? Mwah, seriously. At this stage in the game, it's sorry to say goodbye to anybody, but isn't that the point? I was so proud of them this season. No double shantays, no double sachets, just clear and cut one each, one per go. Oh, but the win, oh. I don't know, there's something about Anitra. I'd love to see Sasha win because I think she deserves it. But I really like Anitra. There's something about her. She's just so kind, and I think that's a great way to represent the brand. And whether you think Mistress is just being an old school drag queen or not, I just found her very off-putting, and the same with Lux, bless her. I wouldn't be upset with either of them winning, but I just like to know that the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race isn't going to talk about me after a meet and greet. I have enough problems in life.